So this weekend we celebrate the feast day of Christ the King, marking the end of the liturgical year. It's hard to believe, but Advent actually starts next week. And so it can be a temptation for us, I think, to look past this feast day of Christ the King as a feast day that is just something sentimental or pious. But if we step back and take a look at it, reflect upon it, it is anything but sentimental or pious. And the reason for this is because there are real consequences to Christ's kingship. And in our country, we don't have much experience with kings and queens. We don't have a monarchy here in the United States. And so when we think of royalty, Queen Elizabeth or Prince Charles or Prince Harry or Prince William, they might come to mind. When we think of a king or a queen, we might think of aristocratic snobbery, a man or woman sitting atop a throne made out of pure gold, barking orders at servants who are waiting on them hand and foot. But unlike this idea of kingship, the kings in ancient Israel were actually warrior kings. The kings of ancient Israel would lead troops into battle. The most notable of these kings is David. King David maintained a standing army of 12 divisions, totaling nearly 300,000 men. He led successful military campaigns against the Philistines, invaded Moab, defeated the king of Zobah in Syria, and the list of his victories goes on and on. It's also worth noting that it was David who would eventually unite the 12 tribes of Israel. King David was a skillful warrior and a general who is regarded as one of the mightiest rulers in the ancient East. Ultimately, David was a sign in the Old Testament of the one who was to come. He was a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ himself. Now, like David, who came before him, Jesus is also a warrior king who leads and who guides and who commands troops in battle. But his is not an earthly kingdom, as he tells Pilate in our gospel today. He says to Pilate, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom did belong to this world, my attendants would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not here." And so while Jesus' kingdom is not of this world, we can glean from this that the battle that he is waging, that he is commanding, that he is leading, is also not of this world per se. Now, it is at least in part played out in the world, but it is still nonetheless a supernatural battle. It is a cosmic war. And we can get some insights into this from the 12th chapter of Revelation. In this chapter, we are told that war broke out in heaven, that Michael and his angels waged war against Satan and his angels, and that Satan and his angels fought back, but ultimately were defeated and thrown from heaven. Now, this word in the Greek, ekbaline, is a verb, and it means to hurl. So like we would hurl a ball, Satan and his angels were hurled from heaven. They were driven from heaven. They were not politely asked to leave. And so where did they land? Where did they go after they were thrown out of heaven? They came here to earth. That's what Revelation tells us. And then at the end of the story, the author goes on to say that the devil then went off to wage war on those who keep God's commandments. That's us, or at least it should be. This cosmic battle in Revelation, and I encourage you to read this sometime. Again, it's Revelation chapter 12. It's not a very long chapter. This cosmic battle in Revelation continues today. And if you want to see evidence of this, if you want to see manifestations of this battle, turn on the 6 o'clock news. This cosmic battle is a battle between good and evil, with Jesus as the warrior king in the struggle. What this means for us is that we need to get involved. Those familiar with St. Ignatius of Loyola and the spiritual exercises are aware of his meditation of two standards. Ignatius tells us to imagine a vast battlefield. And on this battlefield is Satan's army, and then there's Christ's army. The fundamental decision that we have to make is, which army are we in? All of our other decisions in life, all of our other choices should then flow from this decision. For whom are we fighting? Now, Satan, in a number of ways, will try to lure us into his army, will try to tempt us to sin, try to tempt us to live lives of pride and lust, hatred, envy, greed. He'll try to make us think that if we just simply go down these paths, we will be happy, that it will be worth it, and that there really are no consequences to living a life of sin, to living a life of greed and lust and pride. But remember what Jesus said about Satan. He is a liar and father of lies, a murderer from the beginning. This is a decision we have to make. Are we going to join that army, or are we going to join the army of Jesus Christ? Will we use the weapons of prayer and penance and the sacraments and the rosary? Will we attend Mass on Sunday? And not just some Sundays, not just most Sundays, but every Sunday and Holy Day? Are we willing to put time and effort into learning our faith, and then more importantly, to live it? Let me put it this way. If we don't make a clear, conscious decision to join Christ's army, then by effect, we are helping the other side. Friends, I submit to you that this feast day of Christ the King is not just some nice little pious, sentimental feast. It's about which army we are fighting in. Are we going to join in the battle and fight in the army of Christ, or are we going to join the other side? In my mind, that's the question that's raised by our feast today.